Sometimes the most powerful music never tops the charts. It never plays on the radio. It never fills arenas. Instead, it hides in smoky bars, dusty record shops, and long-forgotten vinyl sleeves. What if the songs that could have changed everything never got their chance? These are the voices we left behind, and the bands that deserved more love. Between the 1960s and 1970s, rock music exploded like wildfire. It was loud, it was raw, it was revolution. But not every band made it. For every Led Zeppelin or The Doors, there were 10 others who burned bright and vanished. Some were ahead of their time. Some got lost in the chaos. Some were simply in the wrong place at the wrong moment. Today, we tell their stories.
Wanna go away with another man.
Long before garage rock became a retro treasure, the Misunderstood were pushing boundaries with fuzzed-out guitars, psych-heavy lyrics, and raw stage energy. They were teenagers with sound 10 years ahead of their time. Influenced by blues and the British invasion, they moved from California to London, hoping for a break. But the Vietnam War and immigration troubles forced their singer back home, and the band fell apart just as they were about to make history. They only released a few tracks, but legends like John Peel called them one of the greatest lost bands of the era. Their song, Children of the Sun, feels like a prophecy blistering poetic and tragic.
You join the children of the sun. You join the children.
They were ready to change the world, but the world changed first. But while the Misunderstood were pulled apart by war, the next band was swallowed by mystery and a vanishing act that left fans wondering for decades.
To the Egyptian gardens just the other night, saw a redhead then some strong heart, keep your mind open.
They weren't British. They weren't pop. They weren't easily defined. That was Kaleidoscope's curse and their brilliance. Mixing folk, Middle Eastern melodies, and psych-rock, they built songs like paintings, layered, strange, and beautiful. Their debut album, Side Trips, was unlike anything else in '67. But record companies didn't know how to market them. Audiences didn't know what to do with them. And so, they faded out quietly, leaving behind one of the most genre-blending catalogs of their time. Their music was a map to a place no one else dared to go. And just when music began embracing experimentation, another band emerged with even more grit. But they had no idea their masterpiece would be buried for decades. They came from Texas, but their sound was from outer space. Cold Sun was heavy on electric auto harp, echoing vocals, and a darkness that predated goth rock. Led by Bill Miller, they recorded an album in 1970, but no label wanted it. It sat unreleased for over 20 years, until a small German label finally unearthed it in the 90s. By then, Cold Sun had become a ghost, a legend, a whisper among collectors and underground fans. The album Dark Shadows now stands as one of psych-rock's buried gems. They recorded the future in a time that wasn't ready. But as Cold Sun vanished into silence, another band was about to take the stage only to find themselves trapped in the wrong era.
I have in my pocket a hurricane fights a plane. I know you tell of being stainless steel.
It wasn't just a band. They were a noise revolution. Their debut, The Parable of Arable Land, featured instruments like electric and openers, radios, and amplified toys. Critics were baffled. Audiences were hostile. But buried in the chaos was a vision that would later influence punk, noise rock, and even sonic youth. They were ridiculed in their time. But now, they're seen as one of the earliest experimental pioneers in rock. They broke sound before it was cool to be broken. While the Red Crayolas shattered sonic rules, our next band found themselves caught between beauty and breakdown, led by a genius whose story ended in sorrow.
I say welcome to the void. Won't you take me there?
Morgan only released one album, but what an album it was. Heavy, psychedelic, melodic, and soaked in raw emotion. Steve Morgan, the band's frontman, poured his soul into tracks like Welcome to the Void, crafting what some critics now call one of the best psych records of the decade. But poor promotion, bad timing, and inner struggles crushed the band's momentum. Steve disappeared from the music world, leaving behind a single LP that had become a collector's holy grail, a masterpiece born in the void then lost to it, and from a void of New York's underground. The next group rose with one dream, to bring blues back to life, only to be ignored when the blues wave finally hit. With roaring guitars and a voice like thunder, Leaf Hound Growers of Mushroom should have been a chart topper. Instead, the record was barely pressed. The band broke up before the album was even released in some countries. Years later, it was hailed as a proto-metal classic. Bands like Soundgarden and Wolfmother cite them as an influence. But Leaf Hound never saw the love in their prime. They were the sound of the 70s released too early to be heard. And as Leaf Hound roared into obscurity, another band quietly folded their dreams into one of the rarest records ever made. Three musicians, one forgotten masterpiece. T2's It'll All Work Out in Boomland was a fusion of prog, psych, and raw energy. Keith Cross was only 17 but played like a seasoned wizard. The album blended heavy riffs and soft beauty with jaw-dropping skill, but bad management, lack of promotion, and industry apathy left them stranded. The band fell apart after one album. They told the future in 4 songs, and no one listened. But while T2 dreamed big with little reward, our next band danced with disaster and left behind a tale soaked in rebellion.
Have you ever felt the night? Felt the wind? Hated strange desires? A splendid
Bang was loud, heavy, and intense years before bands like Metallica or Megadeth. Their self-titled debut sounded like Black Sabbath's American cousin, but tragedy struck. Right before their album's release, their drummer died. The label edited the songs, changing their sound. The band fell apart. Despite their raw power and unforgettable riffs, Bang never became a household name. But for those who know them, they're pioneers of American metal. They brought thunder, but never got the storm they deserved. And after the thunder faded, another band quietly created something magical, so magical, no one knew they were real.
There was a time when all the people in the village would come out. Just don't keep me waiting, Sarah.
Lazy Smoke only recorded one album, Corridor Faces, in a small town studio. Influenced by the Beatles and Pink Floyd, their sound was haunting, dreamy, and delicate, but no one heard it. Only 500 copies were ever made. The band broke up soon after. Decades later, crate diggers found the album. It's now considered one of the greatest psychedelic private press records ever made. They whispered into vinyl, and time finally listened. And just when you thought these stories couldn't get more tragic, the final band took silence to a whole new level. They self-produced their one and only album in 1973. The self-titled Zurfers LP fused psych, prog, and power pop into one perfect package. No label, no tour, no exposure, just a few hundred copies that vanished into time. But the music didn't die. It traveled through collectors, through digital revival, through word of mouth. Today, the album is revered, but the band, still largely unknown. They made magic in a basement and were forgotten in broad daylight. Each of these bands gave everything and got almost nothing back. They weren't lacking talent. They weren't lacking heart. They were lacking timing, support, and luck. In a world that worships fame, they gave us art instead. And that might be the most rock and roll thing of all. Some of these bands were rediscovered by vinyl hunters. Some inspired future musicians. Others remain shadows. But all of them matter, because they remind us that greatness isn't always recognized and love isn't always loud. There are songs that play in stadiums, and there are songs that live in silence, waiting to be heard. The 10 bands you just met gave us beauty, rebellion, and truth, and the world barely noticed. So next time you browse a dusty crate or scroll through forgotten playlists, listen closely. You just might find a masterpiece nobody told you about.